Well, now, it looks like Joanna did a great job in dusting and straightening up here without even being asked. What a sweet girl puppet she is. Hey, Granny, did you see all the cars pulling up into the parking lot? And every human is carrying a dish full of food. Oh, yes, I heard there was to be a funeral meal here today. Humans usually have special meals at important occasions. Yeah, I noticed that, and as good as it smells, it makes me wish puppets could eat. Mmm. Now, that might be fun, but if we were like humans and had to eat or else we'd die, then we'd be in a heap of trouble up here in our attic. Yeah, getting food several times a day could get to be a problem, one I'm glad we don't have to worry about. But the fellowship over the funeral meals and all the other important meals that they have, it seems almost better than the food. You're right. And I'm thinking of a meal that it and its fellowship was the most important one ever eaten by humans. There was a most important meal of all time? Sure was. The believers call it the Last Supper. It's found in all four Gospels, Matthew 26, Mark 6:14, Luke 22, and John 13 through 17. It was a time of the Passover, and Jesus had been teaching in Jerusalem. The disciples asked where he would like to eat the Passover, and Jesus told Peter and John to go to town. Oh, yeah, I remember about the Passover. That was when they remember what God did, all those miracles when he got them out of Egypt. They still celebrate it. Why, yes, they do. And now Peter and John, Jesus told them that they would see a man carrying a water jar, and they were to follow him, and when he got to where he was going, they should say to the householder that the teacher wanted to eat the Passover at his house. The man would show them a upper room all furnished and ready for the celebration. Peter and John found everything exactly as Jesus said it would be. Wow! Now that couldn't have just happened. Jesus knew everything ahead of time. Cool! And Jesus and his disciples arrived before sundown, and as they were sitting down, Jesus took off his outer garment and tied a towel around his waist, and he took a bowl of water and he washed the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel. The Son of God, the promised Messiah, washed the feet of his followers? Well, yes. Peter objected at first, but then Jesus said if Peter didn't let him wash his feet, he couldn't be one of his followers. So Peter said that Jesus could wash his feet and his hands and his head. Jesus told him no, a person who has had a bath need only his feet to be washed. Jesus said Peter was clean. That meant he was a forgiven believer, but that not everyone there in that room was clean. But why would the Son of God get down on his knees and wash the feet of the men he'd been teaching? Well, Jesus said it was an example to them and to us. We are to serve each other, and no one is greater than the other. We are all servants of God. Jesus put on his outer garment and sat down. Wow, that is one really clear example. Oh, but wait, did you say somebody there wasn't clean? Judas had already agreed to betray Jesus to the Jewish leaders for money. He went out during the supper to do it. Oh, well, Joanna mentioned something about that, but I couldn't believe that one of Jesus' own followers would actually do that. Why, that dirty, awful turncoat. Now, boy puppet, it was all under God's control. The rest of the disciples and Jesus finished the supper. Jesus took that time to teach them many things, and that is where he established the communion. The communion, what's that? Well, it's sometimes called the Lord's Supper. You've seen the humans celebrate it during the worship service. Oh, yeah, that's the most important part of the worship service. Yes, Jesus took bread and gave a piece to each disciple, and he gave thanks, and then he said, "Take, eat. This is my body broken for you." And then he took the cup and gave thanks and told each one of them to take a drink out of it. And he said, "This is my blood poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. This do in remembrance of me." And then he also said, "A new commandment I give to you. Love one another as I have loved you. By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Then they sang a hymn and went out onto the Mount of Olives to the Garden of Gethsemane. Well, Granny, I don't understand all of that. I mean, I know about the love, that's pretty clear, but what about the broken body and his blood being poured out? Well, the disciples didn't understand either at the time, Noah, but within a few hours it was very clear to them. Maybe it will be to me after I finish studying the Gospels. Oh, I have no doubt. The entirety of Christianity hangs on the events of those days. Say, Noah, weren't you supposed to help Gramp with something? Oh, yeah, we were going to check the costumes to see if the mice had been in them. I'm sure my friend Eek hasn't been, but maybe some of his family did. I'm a little worried about our young puppets. Father, the next few weeks of their studies will be difficult. Nothing funny at all there. These events are without equal the most important of all history. Please help us to say exactly what you want said as we teach them, and please open their minds and their hearts to understand. Give them patience and a great love for your Son. Amen. This do in remembrance of me. This do in remembrance of me. The wine and the bread speak of blood that was shed. This do in remembrance